In a world of trash, a group of heroes will rise to save humanity from itself. A blood mage, a fencing ace, and
a hippo? That's right, you can play as all these characters and more in the new dark, comedic, satire, dystopian game Trash Planet, available now on itch.io, rpgmaker.net, and GameJolt. Best part is, it's totally free. Thank you so much, and I love you.
Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to RPG Maker Cola.
Hey RPG Maker Cola listeners, welcome to RPG Maker Cola Season 2, branded for your satisfaction, ready for consumption, and it's cool and icy too. It's got a lemon maybe? I don't know, does a lemon help? Maybe it does. Maybe you'll sip some of that citrusy goodness into a cool glass of RPG Maker Cola. All iced up, all strawed up. You better know this is your fizzy soda-filled source of content for game development opinions that mean very little in the grand scheme of things. It's your favorite RPG Maker podcast, RPG Maker Cola. I'm your host Benny, also known as Cash, also known as the Puzzle Snob, also known as the guy where the only thing classic about him is his love for classic Coke, and this is the place for you. It's a chill space where we get together skilled developers from the RPG Maker community to chat cordially and occasionally non-cordially about game development, game design, and probably a whole bunch of unrelated other stuff too. It's casual, it's cool, it's cola. Today I have 4 guests in one. Fantastic developers who create new age retro RPGs built for the modern era. They often feature challenging battles, cryptic puzzles, and rapid fire plot that is craftfully designed to keep your adrenaline pumping from start to finish in the nostalgia-provoking RPG format. I have 4 of the 5 crew members with me that are part of a prolific game development team called Something Classic, creators of incredible games, starting with Shadows of Adam. This game began, I believe, in 2013 and was released in February of 2017. 16-bit JRPG glory with a modern design, boasting 10 to 12 hours of gameplay if you discover the run function, blazing fast battles that will set your pants on fire, ooh ouch, and inspired music that will find yourself humming 20, 50, maybe even 100 years from now. You can suplex dragons, revel with clean freak pirates, sneak past gambling addicted guards, sample strawberry flavored potions, run from the cabbage lady, and at the mushroom sauce of a lunatic witch with a fork. They also acted as publisher for a game called Pillars of Dust, some of them also working on this game, a retro style RPG, where Prince Carlton and a pauper named Greg, not Breg, the name's Greg, must make their separate ways through a mysterious land to learn their origins and find some nuggets along the way. Are these chicken nuggets? Find out if you play the game. This game was developed by Retro Games, spelled in the French way, like Bordeaux, I don't know, and published by Something Classic themselves. Now, most recently, they're working on a game called Quartet, a game centering around 8 heroes, 4 stories, and 1 destiny. Many stories intertwine in this labyrinthine narrative, strands including a series of train robberies that leads to an evidence of a government conspiracy, or a mysterious deck of cards that gives a young girl a vision of another world, or a fleet of deadly airships burning a path across the Imperial frontier. 8 characters fight, but you can only deploy 4 at a time in this game, and it just looks really good, like the rest of their work. So let me introduce the team today. Our first guest is someone who I honestly don't actually know a lot about because I can't find much about them online, apart from the fact that they are a programmer and developer both for Something Classic and retro games, which I mentioned earlier. So Pillars of Dust, I'd imagine, would mostly be their baby. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce programmer and developer extraordinaire for Something Classic and retro games. It's Josh Garlitz.
I'm Josh Garlitz. I'm programmer and developer for both Something Classic and retro games.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you. And our second guest also claims they live to create and create to live, and are currently working with Something Classic to develop all the wonderful games I mentioned earlier, and Excavate Studios to work on the game My Familiar, a buddy cop noir where you uncover conspiracy while also engaging in turn-based combat. I'd like to introduce the art director and artist for Something Classic, Pixel Groover, or Tim Wendorf.
Yep. Hey, I'm Tim Wendorf, the art director for Something Classic, as has been mentioned. And yep, Happy to be here. Been doing this for a long time, making art, so
Happy to have you here.
yeah.
And our third guest, somewhat related, they're a self-professed senior software developer living in Canada. Currently working on Quartet, doing pixel art for My Familiar, a game created by Excavate Studios, and Numetry, I believe that's how it's pronounced, a world-class math game developed by experienced teachers and skilled game devs all around the world. It's the inedible, I hope, programmer, technical consultant, and Canadian for something classic, Tyler Deren, or Ty.
Hey, I'm Ty. I don't know if I'm inedible, but I like to imagine I am.
Yeah, I think we should all be inedible to some extent,
Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah, so I do programming work for something classic, Numetry, just kind of anyone who asks. So, yeah.
Nice. You got your fingers in all the different pies, I suppose,
Yeah, exactly.
Our fourth and final guest is a composer, jazz arranger, and trumpeter whose specialties lie in the jazz style and RPGs. They also love working with live musicians and have years of experience writing and recording with them. They're a composer for Shadows of Adam, Quartet, My Familiar, Numetry, and a game called Diaconia the Keepers. They have exceptional composition work, truly amazing. I'd like to introduce the incredibly musical composer, micromanager, and scolder of Josh, Tyler Mire.
Hey everybody. I like to scold Josh a lot. It's a pastime of mine. And yeah, I write the music for Shadows of Adam, Quartet, My Familiar, and a couple other indie games, which I hopefully get the name drop, and happy to be here.
Yeah, I assume that a lot of you have, plenty of games that you've been involved in that weren't mentioned on your official site, but I think I quite liked, the titles that you provided, Micromanager, Scolder of Josh, Canadian, and when I said Ty came from Canada, that was on the Twitter profile, so I wasn't, doing an intentional diss towards that. It was
not to be confused with Canada.
It was on the profile. yeah.
I thought that's how Canada's pronounced. I just learned something today.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but it's a common misconception. Now that we're well acquainted with the Something Classic team, which I'm very happy to have on board, and also thought it would be remiss of me not to mention the fifth member of the Something Classic crew, Luke Wachholtz, the writer, level designer, and self-appointed voice of reason, who I also believe developed The Way as well, if I'm correct. I think someone mentioned that.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, one of the first RPG Maker games I ever played. Truly amazing work. So this is the Something Classic crew. Very exciting to have you on board.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks.
So thanks to all of you. Now that we're well acquainted, it's the Buzz Corner time. Welcome to The Buzz Corner. This is the place where we talk about what RPG Maker games are gaining buzz at the moment. I told a guest if we can think of a game, we can bring one game if they can to talk about that they're pretty interested in. They don't have to have played it, it just has to have a game page or something that looks interesting. I'm going to bring a game called Placebo Love by Merlandese. Merlandese is the creator of Last Word, among other games, and they've also actually been on the podcast, but I wanted to bring out their latest game just in case, they ever release that comes out recently. I hope they do. This game is from the creator of games such as Last Word and Fleuret Blanc and Social Caterpillar, and also worked with Kangao on To the Moon and other Freebird games releases. But this game is their latest game called Placebo Love. It's a sim sort of visual novel game, slice of life thing where you follow different characters, and it's based on twin strangers who look alike, talk alike, and live similar lives. They're complete doppelgangers, but you kind of it's a sort of sim kind of experience where you navigate a tight schedule of diverse bonds, and you choose when to tell the truth or hide feelings, and you sort of unlock multiple endings by juggling these different contexts and negotiating the gentle push and pull of these lonely lives. I really am excited because Merlandese's games are always super narratively rich, and the portraits and the art looks amazing, and it just looks really, the UI in particular, just looks really gorgeous. And I've also in the description they've likened it to a Persona game, but with none of the dungeony stuff, which is it seems to. I really have always been interested in that kind of side of Persona, and if they just can amplify that, I think it would turn out to be a really awesome game. So I'm really excited for Placebo Love, created in Construct 2, actually. So it's not an RPG Maker game per se, but it's created within the RPG Maker community. Yeah, go check that out. Placebo Love. Yeah, Josh, what's buzzing for you at the moment?
In my buzzland is a developer known as Spacebot Interactive, and they specialize in making Game Boy games that run on the actual Game Boy hardware. Wow. So the one I brought in is called Dragonborn, and they used GB Studio, I do believe, which is a sort of drag and drop editor comparable to RPG Maker, but it actually exports to real Game Boy hardware. So they developed a complete commercial game that runs on the original Game Boy. They did original Game Boy packaging, instruction manual, box art, everything. And they got that out there in a relatively quick period of time. And I'm just fascinated because when I first started playing games, probably Game Boy was one of the first systems I played, and it was always my dream to make a sort of Game Boy style game, let alone like one that runs on actual hardware. So just to see people pursuing that is really inspirational to me, because I'm just kind of like a poser. I'm making a Game Boy styled game, but I didn't make it run on official hardware. So it's really something to see, though, because that would have been unfathomable 25 or 30 years ago to have like indie developer who's able to make something on official Nintendo hardware.
I'd imagine it'd be a crazy experience to have your game like ported to a Game Boy ROM and then be able to play it on a legitimate physical Game Boy. That would be like amazing.
Yeah, and they're going for it. I think they have another couple of projects in the pipelines, and their Instagram's full of Game Boy content, like collections. It's really up my alley. It's super Game Boy nerds, and I just like it.
Yeah, like someone can go check it out or order it. You can order would it be ordering the actual physical release online? Like you can just order a cartridge or something?
Yeah, you can order the cartridge, you can order the ROM, and they're releasing it for PC on Steam. So yeah, I think they pretty much covered every possible avenue.
So this game is sort of, apparently, you travel through the region of Argon as Chris in search of your missing father, Curtis, the greatest dragon slayer the region has ever known. Yeah, and it looks really like, I don't know what games it reminds me of, but it's very reminiscent, so you can sort of just see what, around 10 hours of gameplay and stuff. It looks amazing.
Yeah, I'd recommend anyone who's a fan of Game Boy style games to check it out.
Yeah. Tim, what are you bringing to the Buzz Corner today?
I'm bringing Luna's Fishing Garden. Is that the name? That's the name. Yep, that's what I'm bringing to the table. It's a game that is not out yet, but they just released a demo for the Steam Game Festival, and it looks like a cute fishing game with bright, colorful pixel art. One of my Twitter friends, Illu Finch, illustrated the game, so that's how it got on my radar. But I've always been waiting for like a chill fishing game to just like kill time before bed, sort of that Animal Crossing experience, but just arcade fishing. So I'm pretty psyched to try it out. It looks a little idly game to me, so I'm not sure if it'll be as relaxing, because I worked in idle games for Facebook and Zynga. Well, not for Facebook, but
so you might have PTSD and flashbacks from working with them.
Yeah, exactly. So I know mechanics of just like harvesting little dubers on the place and watching bars fill. So how do they pull that off in a like relaxing way? For someone like me, I don't know, but I want to find out. And as of now, it's pretty much the closest to my sort of dream fishing game to kill time on that's out there. So
it does look very unique. Yeah, looks nice.
I'll at the very least deconstruct what is fun about it, and one day I'll make a fishing game similar. But I want to do one like Super Mario World, where you're in like different lakes and levels that way, traveling over a world map.
I must admit, it's not a genre that I'm fully like aware of. I know that the closest thing to a fully fledged fishing game, funny enough, was created as a scenario within Warcraft 3. sort of like you had like a leveling up system and different upgrades and things like that. And I was like, this is how is this the most fleshed out fishing game I've ever played?
Right. I think there's like Legend of the River King, the Game Boy games. They're like Japanese fishing RPGs, kind of like Pokemon meets fishing minigame. But
yeah,
I personally think Breath of Fire 2 has the best fishing minigame of all games that have fishing minigames. So that's the angle I want. But like solving puzzles and stuff in the fishing, it's like you cast further and get better equipment.
Oh yeah, nice.
Anyway, it's not supposed to be a game pitch of a future idea of mine. That's just what Luna's fishing garden inspires, and sort of realizes for me without having to put in that work.
Yeah, it's like a side-scrolling kind of, like it looks very sunny and it looks like you want to go there. Like it's like a outside, summery kind of game. So you can live your kind of your outside fantasies in this game. So
right.
Yeah, and actually it'll be released by the time that this podcast comes out, I believe. So yeah, go and check that out. Luna's Fishing Garden. Buy that game. Ty, what game are you bringing today?
Yeah, so I'm bringing Ephemeral Tale because I'm totally being paid by the creator of that Dawdling Dog to do the call out here. So what I like about Ephemeral Tale is it's a dungeon crawler with random loot drops, and I kind of like the mechanics of you can just hop in, go farm loot, and get some pretty cool equipment with very face-palming dad puns in the description, which is, that's what you want in a looter game, right?
Yeah.
You want face-palming dad puns in the item description. And that is an RPG Maker game. I don't know what specific version it's being made in, but yeah, like there's a lot of work being put into it, and it's in early access now, so you want to check it out, go and check it out and buy it. Support the dev, because he's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah. ZServ is of Dawdling Dog Games is a friend of the podcast, actually, and as well as Something Classic. But we talk about that in an earlier episode, which ZServ actually guests in, so go check that episode out as well. After this one, listen to this one, and then go listen to that one.
Yeah, totally.
Us first.
But it's sort of like a classically inspired RPG that centers around the three tenets of explore, loot, and combat. So it's very sort of gameplay focused with a story there as well. But it's like, I love games that sort of are what they are, and they focus on what they want to really nail. And this has a focus. I like that about this game. It's like, we're going to make a good battle-y game with good battles and progression. And it's like, thank you. Nothing's really an afterthought, sort of thing. It's like, we know what we're about. Yeah, I go check that out. Ephemeral Tale. And Tyler Mire, what are you bringing today to the Buzz Corner?
So this is a game I've been excited about for a while. I backed it on Kickstarter maybe a year or so ago. It's called Kingdoms of the Dump. And, I've been kind of keeping my distance. I want to know as little about it as possible. I will admit that I just fell in love with the aesthetic. I love the art direction. I love the music. Of course, I see anything styled like a classic 16-bit JRPG, I get real excited. But the polish on it, and this game is like the most GIFable game I've ever seen in my life. Like every time they post to Twitter, it's like everything is like this glorious GIF, like ready-made Twitter GIF. And so, I'm really stoked about this game. We know the developers; they're blue-collar guys. They're actual janitors in real life. They're working hard. They got a big Kickstarter, and I'm really rooting for them. I'm hoping the game's a hit, and that's what I'm really looking forward to.
How can you sustain a full-time job and do this game? Like, the content within it is like immense. But I also know that they've been working on it for a long time, as well, some time. I believe one of the main developers is Roach, but they used to be called by a different name, and they created some amazing looking games before settling on Kingdoms of the Dump. They had their origins in RPGmaker.net as well. But like, it's awesome to see them actually coming through and bringing and working on one project and really fleshing it out, because it's so exciting, real exciting to see. I really wish the best for this game as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You play as a trash can, by the way, so that's a good reason. You're a trash can knight named Dustin Binsley, fighting your way through 5.5 kingdoms of the dump. 5.5, you rescue the trash-picked king, defeat the totally disgusting, toxic Grimelin army, and prevent the lands of Phil from an all-out war. So you, lands of Phil, you kind of get that sense there's going to be puns and humor, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So actually, I remember talking to Roach about this, and he said the game is actually played fairly straight. So I don't actually know how comedic the tone is. It seems at surface level it'd be a pretty quirky, funny game. But I think in universe the characters are played very straight. I could be completely wrong. I just remember a conversation with him where he's like, "It's not as funny as you might think. It's humorous, like as its absurdity, but it's played straight." I could be wrong. So that's why I've kind of kept a distance from it. I just want to go in completely blind and have no expectations other than I know I'm gonna like looking and listening to the game, because that content has been topped.
Yeah, sorry, I think I might have ruined it. So
No,
I
don't know. You might be right. I
Stuff.
could be wrong. I could be wrong.
No, I didn't realize I might have been spoiling some stuff for you. So I'm sorry
Oh,
for
no, you're fine.
spoiling the details.
No, that's fine. I know there's a trash game. That's about it.
Yeah, trash game. That's all you need to know.
I post spoilers to Tyler every day. I just DM him Kingdoms the Dump spoilers.
Okay, can anyone just send me the spoilers for Kingdom Hearts so I never have to play those games? Because I'm never.
I think there's like a whole Bible written about the story in there.
Yeah, I believe. Kingdoms of the Dump is a dump reskinning of Kingdom Hearts. No, it's not. It's not. It's completely different.
Right. By Dasney.
Yeah, sometimes the best humor for me comes from an absurd world, but the characters are just straight and they don't take it they take it very seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I find that hilarious by itself.
I agree.
Yeah, that's probably
absolutely.
what they're going for.
That's how you do real world building.
That's right.
You take something that made you laugh initially, and then you take it completely seriously from there on out.
So what I want to know is if they're going to take a marketing page out of Earthbound and do the this game stinks marketing angle.
This game's trash.
This game, I mean, it's just like the low-hanging fruit right there.
Yeah, this game
belongs in a dump.
This game is rubbish.
Wait, is there going to be a boss that's literally a dumpster fire? Because if they don't do that, I take back everything I said about the game.
I think
That's the ultimate magic spell in the game.
Dumpster fire.
I think
though they've done a pretty good job of avoiding being compared with Earthbound.
Yeah.
I think
Which is,
the final boss is just be a dumpster. It's called a dumpster fire, but then the sprite is actually a picture of the console port of Cyberpunk 2077. So.
Oh gosh. Ooh, spicy
No
takes. We got
lawsuits
him.
whatsoever.
So that
Yeah,
was
I agree
kind
with
of
you,
a weird
Tim,
glitch.
about the Earthbound thing. I feel like it's so easy to like always be compared in that lane. Like anything that's not the high fantasy look, kind of quirky, Earthbound, which is fair, but sometimes it's not totally fair. Like I wish we had a bigger vocabulary, a little bigger range of what different sort of settings we can, without just saying this is either Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, or Earthbound. Like there are lots of shades, I think, but I digress.
Well, the thing is, it's for the general public.
That's true. That's a good point.
If it will get more sales for this game,
So
then
you
just
need-
go ahead and tout that label. Just say Earthbound inspired, even if it isn't.
Right. No, you're right. That's a good point.
But also, like, I mean, it's got that orthogonal projection. Is that how you say it? It's like a square at the front, and then it kind of goes diagonally towards the top right sometimes, but then it plays with perspective. So I guess that's some Earthbound influence, but I must say that I think Roach's earlier games looked more like Earthbound than this one. This one departs from it quite a lot more, I'd say. Because of the style, it looks completely different and way more detailed, I think, and I think it looks gorgeous. Like, yeah, that's the games that have been buzzing for us at the moment. Go check them out. Go check Kingdoms of the Dump out. Just go marvel at its gorgeous screenshots and try not to get convinced never to make games ever again, because that's a known side effect of looking at this game. Because you'll just say, okay, why do I still make games if this exists? But anyway, enough of my depressed rant. We're going to go to our next section. We've been playing games. Maybe? Hey, have you been playing games? I know it's a confronting question. If not, that's all cool. But if so, you can still listen here either way, as each of us talk about a game we're currently playing, or if not, have played in the past, and explain what we liked and disliked about it. Today I'm bringing a game called Steven's Sausage Roll. It is a simple 3D puzzle game, at least it says it is, but it's really not. It's hard to explain. This game it seems simple on glance. You're a little fork that kind of walks around and rotates and tries to put sausages on the fire and cook them. And that is the whole game. There's just grills throughout this game that you roll sausages around the game, and it's like, depending on the game, you could go like 50 hours on this. I don't know. It's like, it is a very difficult game. It is arguably the most difficult puzzle game I've ever played. So, it's not for the faint of heart. It takes extremely simple, like, gameplay mechanics. You can move forwards and backwards, and you can rotate. But that may seem sort of easy, but actually, it's actually very hard to even navigate around a simple map. Like your fork will hit into obstacles, and you'll fall into the sea, and all of these. There's so many things that can happen within the simple set of rules that they've placed out there. So this game, if you want a challenge, this is your game. Like if you've been looking around puzzle games and being like, there's not enough challenge in puzzle games. Firstly, you might want to get that checked out, but secondly, you might want to play Steven's Sausage Roll, because it's immaculately designed, in my opinion, along the lines of Bubba Is You, The Witness, except I think it sometimes wastes less time than a couple of those games. Yes, it's in that sort of tradition. So, yeah, I'd reckon check it out. Steven's Sausage Roll, it is what it is, a simple puzzle game. Josh, what game have you been playing?
I'm a bitter old man, so I just play the same games I always played. So I've been revisiting some of the old Mega Man games. I got a Sega Genesis Mini, or I guess they're called Mega Drive everywhere else, but it's like one of those all-in-one consoles, and it has Mega Man The Wily Wars on it, which is just a 16-bit remake of the first 3 Mega Man games. And I've had a lot of fun just revisiting it, because it's the same exact games, but they just upgraded all the artwork, new music, a couple of bonus features, and it's almost exactly what I want out of a remaster. And I just noticed the GoldenEye remaster got leaked a couple of days ago, and that's another thing I've been trying to play. It's a little bit hard, but that's basically everything I would want in a remake, and I'm really frustrated it never got released officially.
Yeah. Also, it's a scrapped GoldenEye game remaster that leaked online.
Yeah, they had a full HD remaster of GoldenEye, like the exact same game, just HD, fresh coat of paint, and it was going to be released.
They didn't give it to us.
It was done, but for licensing reasons, it was never published, and somehow it got leaked online. I'm not going to say or condone finding the leak, but there's plenty of gameplay videos on it, and people have been able to play online multiplayer with it somehow. It's just so frustrating that it was never released.
That would be like a real throwback, because GoldenEye, like, you know, Quake and some of the early, like Counter-Strike, GoldenEye, Quake, I'd put them all in the same like category of like influence. GoldenEye is one of those ones that helped make multiplayer shooters what they are today. So to go back there and activate big head mode and things like that would be like a big, you know, like shot to the past. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Mega Man The Wily Wars as well. And
right.
I was just going to say, the Sega Mega Drive, I think, was the first console I ever had. But I don't know what the difference was between the Genesis and the Mega Drive. So
I think they're the same thing. It's just in the USA, the marketing for the Genesis was like, Sega's awesome. Yeah, cool kids have Sega, and lame kids have Nintendo, and Sega does what Nintendo don't, and like all the less processing. But all that being said, I thought Super Nintendo was better.
And do you have like a special attachment to Mega Man as a franchise in particular, or is it just your first time?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably one of the first games I ever played was Mega Man 2. And still every year I play through the first 6 entries, the NES era. I'm pretty much a religious Mega Man fan, so and I'm big into the music too, the chiptunes, as Tyler's probably well aware at this point. So yeah, it's a big influence, and it's always fun to revisit them. They're easy to pick up and play, and
It's a good game to center your religion around. So, Mega Man 2, to be a Mega Man 2ist. Yeah. I mean, the game is like a classic as well. Mega Man 2 is like platform influence, like 101. Like, if you want to know where it all came from, well, where much of it came from, early Mega Man games and their difficulty, but also their fairness and their gameplay and everything, just kind of I reckon cements it as one of the greatest video games of all time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the OST is one of the best OSTs of all time. Mega Man 2.
Yeah. Excellent. Go check that out if you haven't, Mega Man 2. Yeah. Awesome. Tim, what games have you been playing lately? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe is right, because I usually don't play that many games anymore. I'm so busy like making them and doing art for them that it's hard to play a game and not like burn out thinking about games too much. But speaking of thinking about games too much, is Don't Starve, a game that doesn't really leave my mind, even though I haven't played it in a year and a half, just because of the gameplay that it does offer and how well they do it. And they capture a lot of the tenets I believe in game design, which is about involving the player in the world and making them feel like a part of it without having to think about it. And just using intuitive game design and using a player's intuition to direct them in how to do things.
Yeah.
So I feel Don't Starve does that better than pretty much any game, or alongside other great games that do that. So
yeah. It's an uncompromising wilderness survival game full of science and magic. You enter a strange and unexplored world full of strange creatures, dangers, and surprises. You gather resources to craft items and structures that match your survival style. And also, I know I have played Don't Starve Together, which is like a whole new experience. You can like multiplayer this thing. This game has awesome like survival mechanics and stuff. I really enjoyed this game as well.
Right. Yeah, I should have probably explained what the game was. But I figure a lot of people know about it. But right, it's this kind of roguelike survival game, and it's just got some Tim Burton-esque graphics with super tight visual polish, and just all the button presses and interactions themselves doing these things is fun. And the like highs and lows of trying to survive.
And it's extremely moddable as well. There's so many mods for this. Like people, like the mod community goes crazy with this, especially with stuff that I personally think that should have been included in the base game, but there's like a lot of additions that really help out with late game stuff. Because I've found if you go into this sort of like blind, like I think what happens is it's hard to find seeds that you can actually progress like notably in the game. I find you can, I don't know, maybe I just suck at the game, but like it's sometimes hard. You get a seed where it's just like, okay, I don't know how far I can actually get into this game without trying to look for a very specific thing.
Yeah.
And like go across like swaths and swaths of land.
Exactly. And then the further you get in the game, the more you find out that you actually need another thing to keep in mind as well. Like once you get into the winter months for the first time, it's brutal because you have to survive, and there are only a few engineering paths to create things that give you heat. And
this game has a lot of start overness, like the start overitis thing. Okay, fine, let's start over.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, it's hard, but I think maybe I've gotten through like 90 days or something like that. But people beat it and people like sustain forever also.
Yeah.
Just like farming resources. They'll know how to like farm every one.
Maybe I just need to get good.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. After I watched like a playthrough of someone else who was good at the game, or like an end game, what an end game campsite looks like, it made me realize I wasn't good at the game and didn't know. But I was playing it through Discovery, right? So it's hard.
Yeah. Like you're not looking at the wiki or anything. So you're just saying, okay, I'm taking this game as it is. Like you can teach me, game, how to play this.
Right.
And I think that's, in my opinion, the best way to approach a game. Right. Unless like it like says go look at the wiki or something. It's like, okay,
right.
I'll go read.
But it does teach you. It just teaches you in inches, and the playthroughs get longer and longer. So learning that way becomes unsustainable.
Yeah.
Unless you keep a bunch of save states and just go into like this deep thought process of learning the game. Being able to teach people through playing, that's what a game should strive to do. So
Yeah.
hits that check mark for me too.
Nice. Yeah, go play Don't Starve. Go play Don't Starve together if you want to play together with others, or if you don't like other people, just go play Don't Starve by itself. Ty, what game have you been playing, maybe?
Yeah, so lately I've been playing a game called Tyranny by Obsidian Entertainment. It is a isometric kind of Western RPG style game, which has very interesting world building, because like most games, you're kind of the hero, you gotta save the world. But in Tyranny, you play as the faction which has conquered the world, and you play as the voice of the dictator, the overlord, who is invading the last remaining free nation on the continent. So your assigned role in the game is to basically impose the overlord's will on the free nation, which is quite a different world-building scenario that you usually see in RPGs. So it's actually one of the few games I played kind of back-to-back playthroughs. Like, oh, I don't like my ending, I'm going to play again. I don't usually do that, but I did for Tyranny. And it has a kind of pause-and-play, Baldur's Gate-esque kind of gameplay for combat, which, yeah, I like that a lot. So, yeah, it's really fun.
Emphasis on that kind of unique story that branches where your choices sort of matter. Apparently you're not like a random villager as well. You start as like a officer with resources and authority, and you can use that power straight from the outset. Is that true?
Yeah, like you basically start off as the voice of the overlord. So you kind of go in, you say, yeah, the overlord's law says this, and then they have to agree to that or basically lose their rank. So you kind of go around telling people what to do based on the overlord's kind of laws that he drafted.
Nice. Yeah, I also love the UI for this. And they also created Pillars of Eternity as well. So you know you're in good hands if you've got someone who made that game.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, would you say there's any, like, so that's like all the awesome stuff. Would you say there's any, like, drawbacks or things that might be, like, improvable about the game as well?
Yeah, so one thing I didn't really like about Tyranny is like, in general, you have 4 different paths you can go down, but the paths generally feel the same. It's the same areas. I mean, it makes sense for game design perspective. You're not creating all this extra content. It's the same content, just reused in different ways, slightly different ways. But you could definitely draw the player in much more with the immersion if you just change things up more than what you actually do with each of the 4 paths you can kind of go down.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's so hard. Like, we've still got, I reckon we've still got a lot of research and pioneering to do to get to the point where we can still make even more decisions than we currently do. But as I say that, also, I don't know always if more decisions equals better gameplay. But in a game like this, where it like stresses that like your decisions matter, then I suppose you would want them to like really matter, kind of thing. I don't know. It's a hard one to sort of reconcile, because if you just made like entirely different paths, it's like, well, why don't you make 2 different games, sort of thing.
Exactly. That's the main problem with decisions is, well, we're creating all this content that the majority of players are not going to see. So we're just kind of wasting time on this content that no one's going to actually play. Because it's not very often you actually go back and replay a game like this multiple times so you get all the content, right? So it turns into a business decision where, okay, we want 4 different paths to be 4 different, entirely different playthroughs. But now you ask the question, well, there's 4 different games making one game. There's 4 paths we have. We have essentially 4 games. We're selling it for 1 game price. So it's like, well, yeah.
That's when you sort of have to have that like Wild West mentality that they did like when making movies in the 70s and 80s, where it's like, I don't care, just make a game. Here's some money. Go make 4 games in one. Like,
exactly, yeah.
Yes, and that's the only way sometimes we get complete failures, but also like interesting games, and then the occasional like amazing groundbreaking game. You have to take some risks, and the studio format is not always like conducive to that, because money.
Yep.
You have to worry about money, and that's like a valid concern as well. It's like, well, the world currently runs on money, so it's like, you can't blame a studio for wanting it, I suppose, but it's just like,
if someone gave me $20 million, I'd love to make a game like this, but I mean, no one's giving me $20 million to make a game like this, because probably not going to make any money. So yeah,
they wouldn't have 20 million really, unless they did a passion project. But it's a thing. But yeah, Tyranny does. We focus on the negatives, but it does sound like a great game with good choices and like fun gameplay and like a twist on the normal formula. I like that aspect of it. Go check Tyranny out. Go download that game. Get it.
And also win the lottery and give me money so I can make a game like it.
Yes, give Ty $20 million. Some billionaire listening to this podcast.
I'll spend $10 million on pickled asparagus first, but then the next $10 million.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fund me.
Yeah.
I'm very transparent. You guys know exactly what I'm like.
Apparently Ty is a fan of pickled asparagus. I'm not aware of this phenomenon, but I suppose 10 million is enough. 10 million is enough of the budget to sort of allocate to that.
Right. And also allocate me $10 million.
Yes. Also
While we're
allocate
at
every
it. Here.
Yeah, just because.
Just because.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome game. Go check out Tyranny. Tyler, what game have you been playing lately? Maybe?
Well, it's hard for me to get gaming in because I have a 4-month-old, but I have been slowly working my way through Wild Arms 3, which is a PS2 JRPG that I actually missed. There were a couple series of classic JRPGs that I just didn't play as a younger kid. I was mostly a Final Fantasy Squaresoft guy. And so I'm playing Wild Arms 3, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm about 8 hours in, and I would say it's like the Super Mario Sunshine of JRPGs, and where it really, really, really commits to its setting, which is usually hard for me to like. I like diversity. I like going to different areas. I like to do the fireplace and then the next place be the water dungeon. That's just how my brain works.
Yeah.
But I would say the cohesive nature of Wild Arms 3 is really intriguing to me, and the gameplay's fun. Its combat's really starting to click. And one thing I like a lot in the game is it does sort of those Zelda, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest field items that let you interact with the dungeon.
Yeah.
And that was actually something that was in the original draft of Shadows of Adam, was to have like field items like jumping boots and grappling hooks and bombs and stuff. We ended up cutting that for various reasons, but it's fun to do that. So each character kind of has their unique item, and you switch on the field and you sort of navigate dungeons that way. So it's a nice extra dimension. And yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. I wouldn't say it's like a slam dunk game, but it's definitely solid, and I'm having a good time playing it.
Nice. This game, apparently you're like a drifter or adventurer looking for adventure in Filgaia, a desert planet with Wild West motifs, and after foiling a train robbery of a valuable treasure, Virginia joins forces with 3 other drifters as they travel the world and unravel a mysterious plot involving the ancient history of the planet. Critics apparently praised the cel-shaded graphics, so that sounds awesome, along with its deep story and characters, but criticized the frequent battles and world map searching system. Did you find the same kind of frustrations with those systems, or were they?
Yeah, okay? Yeah, especially the world map searching system. So basically, when you try to find a new location to the next dungeon, you get clues in town, which will give you a general direction. And while you're searching, you have to press the square button, and it like sends out like a area of effect. And if your area of effect hits the dungeon will then appear on the world map.
Oh.
So it's a little tricky that way. And the encounter rate is high, but there is kind of a workaround. You have like a meter that every time you're about to get into random battle, an exclamation point pops above your avatar. And if you press, I think, X or square, I can't remember what it is, you can disable that, but it spends some points. But you can build that meter, like you can gain more points if you find certain items. So there are ways to mitigate it, but at a certain point you might run out, and you just have to take the battle. And it's got a little bit of that PS1, PS2 JRPG problem where battles open too long. There's the big the pan of the camera, the skills out, has a little bit of that problem. Yeah, a little bit of that problem. But overall, I would say I'm definitely enjoying this game. And especially for a game where every character shoots a gun. So like, what I mean is usually I like every character have different weapons, right? But this is very much a Wild West game. Every character shoots a gun. You ride horses. Everything's in the desert. You know what I mean? Everyone's wearing a hat. It's the Super Mario Sunshine of JRPGs.
Yeah, it's a Wild West, and some people are spiky here, but other than that, it's still very, it's very much that. Yeah, excellent. So, go play Wild Arms 3, get it on PS2, buy a PS2, buy a CRT
It's on PS4
TV.
too. It's on PS4 too, which is nice. You can buy it on the
PS4.
PlayStation Store.
Okay.
PlayStation Store, yeah.
I don't know why it is, but so nowadays I've got the urge to kind of get a retro kind of console and then get like a CRT TV and like just play it on that, because I don't know why. It just seems, it's a little compulsion that I have. Maybe a feeling of
That's
nostalgia.
okay.
We can get like psychological into that later.
Live vicariously through your guests.
Yeah, exactly. Go play Wild Arms for me. Go play Wild Arms 3, go play all these games. Those are the games we've been playing. And now we must go to our next section, which is the topics we must discuss, because this is a podcast, and it's serious. Welcome to this section. It's the part of the podcast where we ask the serious questions. Sorry, there's a bit of an echo there. I need to get that fixed. So here we're going to ask a few questions about our guests, find out more about them. But we have got quite a few guests today, so I think we'll keep it to the simple ones. Our first one that we have, how did you come about making games, music, or other forms of art that are relevant to you? And if it's RPG Maker, how did you discover RPG Maker? In essence, what's your story? And I assume kind of baked into that is how you all met as well. Who should we start with?
I could maybe start with this because I can tie in the origin story.
Sure thing.
That's cool. Well, I might as well most of us, me, Tim, and Josh, we've known each other for 15 plus years. We were part of an old RPG Maker forum called Gaming World. And that's where we all met, in that forum. Me and Josh would make lots of RPG Maker 2000 games. Tim and he did a lot of early art, sprite work for some of my older games, which I randomly post in our Discord if I ever just want to make people laugh. and Tim's actually a really accomplished artist now, but it's fun to look back in the past and see where we've come from. And so that was kind of the genesis of Something Classic. Years later, I think it was 2013, Josh reconnected with me and said, hey, let's make a game. And that same week, we were like, we need an artist. So I went back on Gaming World. For some reason, I was checking a random thread, and I saw a post from Tim that same day. Or maybe he responded to a post I made. I can't remember. So I DM'd him, and he said, hey, I'm just leaving Zynga. I'm interested in doing a gig. And like serendipitously, a guy I hadn't talked to in 7-8 years, we reconnected. Now he's part of the team.
Yeah.
Tim comes in. He's like, hey, I've been talking to Luke from who made The Way. We're like, oh shit, The Way? Like that's like a legendary RPG Maker game. He's like, yeah, he'd be interested in coming and helping us. So then we got Luke on board. And then I don't know Josh and Ty's connection, but Josh brought Tyler in as our second programmer.
Yeah,
and that's basically how that
started. He held me
started.
up at gunpoint and said he needed programming work, and if I didn't oblige, then things get ugly. So
in essence, Ty might be the one on the team who didn't start per se with RPG Maker. Would that be true?
I think he did. Well, I guess you could probably say it for me, but
yeah.
No,
I mean,
yeah,
it's like this is like a collaborative story, I suppose. Like, you know, of how you all met together, I guess.
Yeah, like my 5-second elevator pitch for my backstory was I was on Gaming World as well, but I was more of a looker, so I didn't really meet these people back then. But I met Josh through a different community called RPG Revolution. I was an admin there with Josh and the owner, and that's kind of how Josh and I connected. And then Josh would always be...
Yeah, it was kind of like a side story.
Yeah, Josh would always be kind of pinging me on MSN Messenger back in the day, when MSN Messenger was a thing, and be like, hey, I want to build this feature. Do you have any suggestions? And I just kind of pitch my thoughts. And it's like, well, why am I just getting ideas from you? Why don't you just join the team? And that's kind of how I joined the team.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to thank you for that as well, because RPG Revolution was the site that I became aware of RPG Maker community as well. So that was my first
small world
community. And then I joined RPGmaker.net later.
Yeah, me and Ty helped recreate it. I'm still in touch with the webmaster to this day, but what his username even was it like Ryden?
Yeah, he went by Ryden. We still share memes once in a while on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, so that was kind of a way to get back to the basics when we started that site up, because Gaming World was kind of going astray and RPGmaker.net hadn't really taken off yet, so we wanted a site that was more focused on game development. And there's like a whole tumultuous history behind that site too, but yeah. I was kind of like in the background. I didn't do too much like development side, but I was like admin, and I always did wacky April Fool's pranks on that site every year.
Yeah, I was member number 29 in RPG Revolution, which is interesting because that's my favorite number for some reason.
There's a lot of weird stuff that happened there too. It was just
Yeah.
Like everyone else, I got my start on with RPG Maker as well. Like RPG Maker XP is what got me into coding. So I would always like in the RPG Maker communities, I went by the name Synthesize, and I would always release Ruby scripts that people could just download and implement in the projects. And then that kind of gave me a jump start into different programming languages. So I jumped from Ruby to C# to JavaScript and TypeScript, and then that kind of kickstarted my career as a full-time software developer using all sorts of different languages. So I kind of credit RPG Maker a lot for kind of giving me my stepping stone to learning how games are built and to learning programming languages in general.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, I think Tim might have a similar story too, but some of the earliest game music I made was for RPG Maker games. Like Josh and I had a game, I think I wrote music for it. There was a game called Channel Changer, which might still be on RPGmaker.net. I wrote all the music for that. It's awful. Don't listen to it. But, you know, I was 15, 16 years old. I know Tim could probably speak to it. I mean, he started a lot of his pixel stuff for those RPG Maker games.
Yeah,
so this
my
community...
first freelance gig was someone off the Gaming World forums, which, yeah, that was pretty good because it started my pixel art career, and I quit my job to do it because this guy was paying me $15 an hour. So I was like,
that's good money back then.
Yeah, I know, because I was getting paid $7.50 under the table working for a graphic design print company, and I was making logos for their customers and shit. I was like, you need to pay me more money, and they're like, nah. So that's my whole career in one line.
You found an opportunity that was more alluring, I guess. Yeah. And probably personally fulfilling as well, would you say? Or has games been the thing that you always wanted to get into? Or
Yeah. Ever since I was like 8, maybe 7, I was thinking about games and designing them in my head and deconstructing them and so on and so forth.
And for all of you, was RPG Maker the thing that you thought you'd eventually start to create, serious stuff in, or did you think that you were going to change to different engines?
So I started with the PlayStation version of RPG Maker, which was extremely janky.
Of course you did.
And then
it's actually more common than one might think. Quite a few people.
I never knew it released. It's because I remember reading about it in a magazine and being like infatuated with the concept and wanting to play it.
Yeah,
maybe it was the SNES version that never got released and got ported to PlayStation instead. That might have been the history.
Weird thing about like RPG Maker is that a lot of RPG Maker users are obsessed with making not RPGs or breaking the boundaries of it.
Yeah.
And I think I was getting a little bit into that trend too, and I realized, why don't I just use a different engine that lets me do that kind of stuff in the first place? And then I hopped over to Game Maker, which ironically, if there's like a Venn diagram of strengths, Game Maker and RPG Maker are mutually exclusive. So like RPG Maker is only good at RPGs and Game Maker is terrible at RPGs. Incidentally, I still use Game Maker, but for RPGs. But basically it's just what you want. Like some people are content with the flexibility that scripting gives an RPG Maker, but personally, I don't like how you have to do things in a subtractive way. So in other words, you have to modify an existing engine and learn about it. It's more fun to me to build from the ground up.
Well, if we look at like Tyler's early games, there was Easy Mac and Easy Mac 2.
Oh gosh.
And Last Legend and stuff like that. So you were creating games already that people, had different reactions to. I suppose Easy Mac turning that into a game requires some form of, bravery, but I think you were already sort of. And let me kind of ask, I suppose, was there a specific time where you were like, where you as something classic, the company, or started to be like, okay, let's do this? Was there a point at which you decided, okay, it's in or out, or was it kind of a gradual kind of slide into this thing.
We stumbled into a professional company, I feel like.
Yeah, we kind of slid in and then realized we gotta like do something here or we're screwed.
Yeah.
I think it was when Tim hired all those great artists and we saw it for the first time and like, oh man, this is kind of a real game and we need to have a Kickstarter right away.
Yeah.
And we need to get a contract and we need to talk to like a lawyer and incorporate. And like, it was like, oh man, this is like a thing now. Like I thought we were just making another RPG Maker game and just having some fun, but
really
no.
Fast.
I sabotaged it by investing like 10 grand.
Yeah.
So
it
so
wasn't
came
the
from
best
like
business decision on my part, but we all learned from our lessons.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, that might have been the one of the catalysts that actually started the whole thing, I guess, which is like you started investing in the game, and then it looked good, and then I suppose it sounds like from there people were like, okay, let's take this seriously and ask for, do the Kickstarter thing. And how did that all go? I guess I mean it's a little bit of it might be a big story, but
Tyler knows that one.
Well,
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
He's got
we
the
did a
elevator pitch
Kickstarter
for this too.
Yeah, we did that. We asked for 20 grand and it was a real nail biter. We hit about 50, they say you got to hit the 50% mark. That's like, if you can get there, you can usually like slide your way down. It wasn't until like the last week we hit 50%. But actually I was enlisting in the United States Navy at the time. So I went to basic training like 3 days before the Kickstarter ended. So when I went to basic training, we were like 17,000 of the 20.
right.
So I wasn't sure if we had actually hit it. I was pretty certain we'd get it. So it wasn't until I got my first letter from my wife, but it was a nail biter. I remember Ty talked about like getting lots of gray hair.
Was that a little while later that you realized that it was actually successful? So up until then, you were kind of like you were in the dark about whether it actually succeeded.
Yeah, I would imagine, because that was a real crossroads moment. If the Kickstarter failed, I don't know if we would have had the ability to finish it the way we wanted to finish it or at all. It just felt, it was kind of like really high stakes.
Yeah.
And so many Kickstarters have, for lack of a better term, failed, not in the sense that they didn't get enough money for it, but even when you get the money, it's kind of understating the fact that you get money, now what? You have to make the game, and it's so much more pressure as well. Like you got backers looking at you, you got all this, pressure. I suppose, I don't know, you've got like that pressure is slightly off you now because you don't have the backers waiting for that one game that they backed.
Yeah, no one tells you about those parts, but the fulfillment is definitely a pretty huge obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard so many stories about that.
Don't overpromise. We promised. I'm not going to blame someone specific. I'm sorry, but someone was like, "Hey, wouldn't it be?"
Yeah, we're still working on the Wii U port.
Yeah. No, Josh suggested we do a player's guide, and which is a badass idea. And who doesn't love like your old player's guides? And that kind of fell all squarely on Tim, which took him an extra 2 years to do.
That's my bad.
But it's beautiful though, and it's really cool. But yeah,
it was worth it. I'm a big dreamer like Josh, though. I knew that it was going to fall on me mostly, so I agreed to it. And to be fair, Tyler put in monumental amount of work just extracting all the data from the game and putting it in a form that I could translate to the guide. But yeah, it was still a 2-year effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's at this point that like Kickstarter, you can just assume that with the rewards, it's like, okay, there's a lot here, and it can be quite overwhelming. People, you can just I was gonna say you can assume that most games, like 95% of the Kickstarter, will overestimate how much they can. I mean, they'll underestimate how much it takes to fulfill those rewards.
We actually went super minimum with that too, as far as what rewards were offered
compared to others.
Yeah. Well, most of them were could be done over the course of the development of the game and involve the people, and otherwise they were just digital goods to distribute that already exist, right? So their only like real big ask was the player's guide, and otherwise it's just like working individually with a couple backers to like get their stuff. So we knew that physical goods would suck.
Another thing we did well on the Kickstarter, I believe, is when we launched the Kickstarter, the game was actually playable from beginning to the end. Like, all the content was there. It was missing a lot of polish. But we definitely underestimated how much polish we needed, because it took us another year to actually polish it up to release it.
Yeah, I mean, we have the case of, like, Amore recently, who said in 2014 it'll be done in a year or something, and then it's released this year. I mean, last year. So it's just like, it's a development thing. It always lasts maybe 2 to 10 times longer than you think it's going to.
Yeah, and some Kickstarters never materialize.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that risk.
I've seen some just run away with the money. But it's so good to see actually something awesome come out of a Kickstarter and then a full company and then go on to do greater things. So I'm really, that warms my heart.
Actually, one more quick thought on the Kickstarter, kind of what Ty was hinting at, is that another really great benefit besides just the support and funding was that we got access to 700 beta testers. Essentially,
wow. Yeah.
I think we had offered that as an add-on reward, but not many people did it. And so we just set up a forum and gave access to the beta. It might even been an alpha, really. It was just playable. It was very unpolished, and said, whoever wants to play this, here's a forum. Anything you say, put it down. And that 6 months to a year of beta, I mean, the game really improved a lot. So I'm very grateful for everyone who invested their time and believed in us. I mean, I'm always so grateful for that. I jump-started my career in this indie scene.
That actually sounds like a extremely wise decision. Like, people, it's the unseen things that people usually underrate, like testing. Testing is so, it can transform your entire game. It depends on which direction you want to take it, but I suppose if you think about some of the greatest, in my opinion, some of the greatest games of all time, like Valve games, Portal, Half-Life, those type of games, they run off testers 24/7 with this constantly sort of churning through. But it can provide some sort of static, linear kind of game, but also it can just really make it super solid. It's watertight, and that's what I love about having massive amounts of testing on a game. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, anybody else want to tell a different part of the story that hasn't been told yet? The goss. No, just kidding. No,
I got my interjection in already.
Yeah, thanks for telling us about the origins of something classic. It's a really inspiring story, and I think a lot of people would gain a lot from that. Yeah, it's awesome. I think we should move on to our next section, which is the question box. Welcome to the question box. This is the segment where RPG Maker community users, such as yourself, dear listener, ask questions related to game development and design, and honestly, other stuff that we probably don't know the answers to, but we'll try. Our first few comments are actually compliments. Compliments? No, it's compliments. That's the right intonation. Our first one is from Joshua Keith, or JK Weath from Twitter, who says, I can't think of any questions. Y'all better think of some good ones. I'll be listening to this one 100%. Thanks, Josh. And next one comes from M. Kaus, I don't know how to say that, or Ramadan from Twitter, who says, looks entertaining and interesting. And then they added a GIF as well. Saxon, or Warmaster Gibbon from Lunatic Discord server, says, I don't have a question, but please tell them that they make very pretty games.
These are some hard-hitting questions.
Yeah.
I'm shaking.
I'm going to have to contact my lawyer. Thank you.
What do you have to say about these allegations?
I say prove it.
Prove it. Prove they're pretty. Awesome. Thank you for those comments. And we'll go on to the actual legitimate questions with a question mark on the end. Our first question is from, I don't know how to pronounce this properly. Please forgive me if I butcher this. Sebastian Kamara, or Samara, or Hitaitaro from Twitter, who asks, which engine do you use and why?
It depends on the game.
On the project.
Maybe talk about Shadows of Adam engine, Josh?
So for Shadows of Adam, it's Impact, which is done in JavaScript language, and Pillars of Dust.
HTML5, yeah.
And HTML5, yeah. And
was it always in this engine?
Yeah, we started in JavaScript. I'm not even sure why at this point, but it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Just pure JavaScript, no framework, or?
Well, Impact's the framework.
Oh, right.
It's
So you
kind
started
of
with Impact to start off with.
Yeah, if you've heard of Phaser, it's a similar idea to that, but it's even older. At the time, it was a commercial license, and it had a pretty robust map editor built in, or so we thought. But yeah, the appeal of that was that HTML5 was supposedly easy to make cross-platform, which was true to some extent. We were able to make the Windows, Mac, and Linux builds pretty easily, but it has its own drawbacks. But overall, it allowed us to develop quickly and test in browser, which is a huge plus. You don't have to wait for the compile time and all that sort of stuff.
And it's coming to Switch, but they'll be in a different engine, right?
Yeah, so
They ported it to Unity.
They had
Unity.
to rebuild
Okay.
it from the scratch, or just from our source code as a reference, they rebuilt the engine in Unity.
Yeah, they often do that. I think for To the Moon, they also created the Switch port from scratch. I didn't know they had to do that, but apparently they do.
So I guess the answer to this question is Shadows of Adam was built in Impact. The Switch build was built in Unity. Pillars of Dust and For Vast Futures built in Game Maker Studio, and then Quartet and My Familiar, which are our next projects we're working on, are built on Unity. So a little of everything.
Yeah. Which one is the best one? They have to duke it out in an arena.
Yeah, like there's no best one. It's just everyone is shit in their own way.
Yeah, it's best for you.
Exactly.
It's like an RPG party, you know. They have strengths and weaknesses, and you have to use them to heal each other and you know, make sure you cover each other's weaknesses.
Yep, exactly.
Tribulation, or RPG Tribulation from Twitter, asks, would you ever consider allowing a cameo of one of your characters from Shadows of Adam to appear in a fellow indie devs game, and vice versa? Asking for a friend. Winky
Absolutely
face.
not. We had a lot of cameos in Shadows of Adam, and as a form of the Kickstarter backer rewards. There's a lot of NPCs that are characters, like people's avatars from the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we do another Kickstarter, I'm sure there'll be a way to get a cameo in their game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have some.
Otherwise, it's like a couple grand per cameo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to integrate into the Adam cinematic universe.
Yeah. Yeah. Got to get approval from Ryan Johnson and whoever does Marvel. No, but in seriousness, there is a game. I won't say what game, which does have an appearance by a certain Shadows of Adam character, and it's not involved with retro or something classic. But to answer this person's question, I think, in all sincerity, we support people we have relationships with, and that's been how we've sort of acted. Like everyone we've interacted with on our Discord or a part of the community, we help out when we can. I've done freebie tracks for ZServ's game. I know Tim's helped out with some art and here and there. And so it's definitely not something we would never consider. It's just that, we'd like to have a relationship with whoever, like we did a cameo of Disaster Cake in Shadows of Adam. Disaster Cake being the developer of Soul Saga, because we had a great relationship with him and he was really very supportive of us when we were in our Kickstarter. Same with the Zeboy guys. We don't have any cameos of them, but that would be my answer to the question.
So in short, if you ever dare to get any characters from Shadows of Adam in your game, expect like a DMCA strike and to get sued and just get wrecked. So
we're going to
don't
send our
you
lawyers
dare.
at you.
Right. They're already scrubbing the internet right now for them.
Yeah.
We've got them working 24/7.
There've been some games that have just vanished. Well, that's all we'll say.
Uh-huh. Which ones?
Yeah.
You'll never know.
Yeah, budget for games? No, we don't have that. We have lawyer budget.
Yeah, that's where the Kickstarter funds went.
Right,
90%.
to all the Kickstarter backers, thanks.
Excellent. I'm kidding, of course. They're very friendly devs. And this person, who is this? ZServ? What? From the RPG Maker Cola Discord. Actually, in all seriousness, the developer of Ephemeral Tale, the game that was mentioned in Buzz Corner, who is a good friend of Something Classic, who has some questions to ask for each of you. We'll go in the order that they've been asked to respect ZServ. Everyone should respect ZServ. First question for Tyler. Would Curtis enjoy the culinary experience of Dairy Queen.
No cap, bruh. Curtis would totally enjoy Dairy Queen. He would suplex that blizzard. That's all I got. I was trying to think of something funny to say. But yeah, of course. Who doesn't like Dairy Queen? Come on.
Not the cows, I guess. Ty, have you ever considered fighting Tyler for the legal rights for the last 3 letters of your name?
Yeah, this keeps me up. This keeps me up at night. I toss and turn in bed just thinking about how my name is Ty and not Tyler, and there's something classic Discord.
Like you had to change your name in real life with your friends and family just to accommodate the other Tyler in your team.
Exactly. Like, do you know how much work that costs? That takes? It's like, I gotta message all my friends, but okay, I'm Ty now, not Tyler. They call me Tyler, and I'm like, I just panic. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. But will you fight them for legal rights?
Oh, totally. I'm much bigger than him, so I think I'll win.
But you're Canadian, so you're nicer. So I'm a little
I'll probably just give him
I'll
give him a big hug and just won't let go, and he'll be like, "This is awkward. Let me go. Like, give me my name back."
And then you'll apologize.
Then I'll apologize. I'm sorry I had to do this to get my name, but it was necessary. And I'll be weeping as I say it.
Grounds for a fan game, Ty and Tyler.
Yeah,
the legal battle.
Get some fanfic going.
Yeah,
I'll read it.
Yeah, Tim. If it exists, what's one weakness of Shadow of Adam's art that you wish you had the time or resources to go back and fix?
Yeah, thinking about that, I feel like we, for the most part, polished our art up to the standard that we needed it to. And we had a certain budget and timeline to work with for the game, and we just did what was in that capacity. If anything, I would maybe have given the characters more of a top-down perspective than sort of like head-on view that they have.
Is that something you kind of learned as you went?
No, this is something I learned later in life. So well past the game, and I wouldn't revisit the game to fix it. It's just something I'd correct in a future game, which I've done for Quartet. So
cool. You live and you learn.
Yep. That's my mantra. One of them.
And also just not neglecting the fact that the art looks amazing, like exceptional. And these are just like little nitpicks that you probably change about little things that you would actually make the game better because you've become better as a person.
Right.
It seems like, yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that, everyone knows, just go check Shadows of Adam out. There's nothing wrong with the art. Literally nothing.
Right. See if you could even spot what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a good minigame. Yeah. Josh, what's FAV? Sorry, I'll just say it out. I'll just say this question. Will FAVF have any cool throwbacks to SOA or Pillars?
One word, Bobby.
Bobby.
Yep.
You just tackled the next question too.
Yeah.
I'll expand upon that.
For FAVF stands for Four of Us Future, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
There's going to be some cameos to be sure. I don't want to spoil too much, but they will be there.
Yeah. Whole team. This is from ZServ still. ZServ's got a lot of questions. For the whole team, what excites you guys most about Quartet versus Shadows of Adam?
The sprite art, Tim was referencing, I think the character art is really great, and it has a little more personality. I think we spent a lot of time. Patrick Holloman, who's the director and the writer for the game, really had a great vision for how he envisioned the characters looking and their personalities, and I think Tim really captured that. Also, just the tech stack we're using is way more friendlier. It's going to be a lot more future oriented. I think we're going to be able to build mini games using what we have now. So and I'm just excited.
The text app?
Tech stack, like we're using Unity, and we have some nice
I thought you said
tools.
text app. Tech stack.
Using some nice data management and scene tools that are really easy to use and really helpful, which are going to really help us in the future. And I'm just excited because we're all just better game makers. I mean, I'm a better composer, and we started Shadows of Adam in 2013. That was 8 years ago. So we learned a lot from that. So I'm just excited about seeing if we can apply the lessons we learned and all the time we spent owning our crafts, if it will, pay off with Quartet. I think it will, but, time will tell, of course.
Yeah. Just to add to that, I'm excited to play it. I'm only partially involved in doing the art direction and art production for it. So I want to be surprised, sort of like Tyler talking about Kingdoms of the Dump in Quartet, and just experience it as a game, because to me personally, it just looks like a cool game I'd like to play.
Yeah. Because you kind of, you trust that it's going to be good because the developers on it. So you're like, okay, I'm going to sit back and just let myself just like bask in the not knowing, and then go into this and just be wowed by everything that I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
I'll just make sure that visually I want my name on it, and that's all I'm concerned about. But I don't feel that
it needs to fill at
concerned.
least half the screen. Yeah.
No, not like that.
The name needs to go boom.
If they
big
read
name.
the fine
No.
print and see my name, they're not appalled at my work
Yeah.
as it's represented, right?
The size of your name will dictate how happy they are with your work. No, just
Whatever you say.
no. No, sorry. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, anything else that excites you about Quartet versus Shadows of Adam?
Tyler, Josh, or rather Ty, Josh.
Kind of what Tyler mentioned already is the improved tech stack. So now it's like, well, if you guys want to implement something, we gave you the tools to implement it. Now it's less work for me. I'm happy. I'm excited about that. It's less work for me to do.
Yeah, I'm excited to have another flagship title out, basically. Like something that we're putting 100% effort towards and really going the extra mile. And I think fans of Shadows of Adam will find it to be a spiritual successor with like another layer of polish, even more thought put behind it. I think it's just going to be a treat for the mega fans.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds awesome. Cool. Leogram from the Something Classic Discord. What's that? Something Classic has a Discord? Everyone go join. Asks, what are your future plans in expansion of the Bobbyverse?
Can I answer this, Josh?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so...
And also explain the Bobbyverse to us as well.
If you have to explain it, you'll never get it. So,
So I'm gonna comment on the future planned expansion. I think we're talking about like some kind of what's that word called? Hazubendo. Like, you know, you have waifus, you have a husband, hazubendo.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a Bobby printout, like a giant pillow, so you can cuddle with when you sleep. I'm gonna ship it directly to Leo in the Something Classic Discord, and he's gonna have that you can kind of cuddle with every night. Does that sound about right, Josh?
Yeah, he's Bobby's #1 fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
We started it with the Bobby emoji, and now we're moving up to
life-size
merchandise,
life-size physical plushies of Bobby.
Love pillow, Bobby size love pillow.
Yeah.
And for everyone who doesn't actually know who Bobby is, he's a character in Pillars of Dust, and he's like a pretty. I'm not to be insulting. He's a pretty incidental character. He's your first sidekick for Greg, and he's like not good by design. And I just remember when I was testing Pillars of Dust, you go to the guild, and like if you want to re-recruit him, you highlight him, and it like has a little description text to tell you about the fighter, and it just says like, Bobby, he's your buddy. And when I saw that for the first time, I just laughed really hard for a while. Like, I don't know why, but that humor really spoke to me. Bobby, he's your buddy. And
sometimes in life you just want a buddy. Like,
yeah,
come on, Bobby's your buddy.
Yeah. And then somehow a bunch of memes started evolving around him.
Somehow.
Like Photoshop.
And body pillows?
Yeah, it's been the Bobbyverse is definitely expanding, so
say Bobby pillows. Yeah. Well, go join the Bobbyverse. I don't know if the Bobbyverse has its own Discord as well, but we'll see. Dungeon Dev Dude or D3 from the RPG Maker Cola Discord. Self-plug, go join that one. For everyone asks, if you could work with any musician in the world to create a guest track for your next game, who would it be and why? And let me just say, it's not replacing the music entirely for the game. It's just like, tracks on the game. You could collaborate with a musician to, create a new... Anyway, I won't explain someone else's question. Go ahead.
I'll take it first.
I would choose the world-famous Tyler Mire.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Actually, you know what? That was really nice of you, Josh. I want to give a shout out to Josh. Josh doesn't promote himself, but he's a great composer too, and he wrote all the music for Pillars of Dust, and it's really good. Like, seriously, check it out. Like, it's a really great soundtrack.
Nice.
But thank you, Josh. I would say, honestly, I love Mitsuda's work. Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, Xenogears, Xenosaga, all those games. I'm a big fan of his style. Obviously, Yamatsu. Any of those. If it was like a live musician, I know Tim and I are both fans of the band Nowhere and Lewis Cole, who's a drummer. And from my familiar, which the soundtrack's a little bit more like fusion-y jazz meets chiptune meets I don't know what you'd call it. It's like a weird fusion of a lot of different things. And every time we listen to Nowhere, Tim's like, you got to get Lewis Cole on your track. So if I could get Lewis Cole somehow to collaborate with me for my familiar, I would be down for that.
You're listening.
Lewis Cole is like.
I knew you'd say that. He's a killer, man. Really unique voice.
It's like that, and like Chon, and like I don't know people. Some people like Jacob Collier. He's sure.
And, so many great young musicians that are like really pushing the fusion stuff. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even Bill Wirtz. I love him. He's great.
Yeah,
he's back. Yeah, I mean, but I'm also awaiting the. I've heard you're getting Hans Zimmer on the next game to create some tracks.
It's just going to be like the whole soundtrack's just going to be epic.
Yeah.
So exhaustingly epic.
Yeah, that's the entire dev budget right there. Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, it's just like 20. There's a 20 million right there.
Alan Gibbard from Twitter asks, why is this... Okay, it said Socrates' favorite JRPG, but probably means Socrates. Why is this Socrates' favorite JRPG?
Yeah, we need Pat here.
Is this like a punchline setup?
So, the joke is that Patrick really likes philosophy and literature, and he's the writer for Quartet. And without spoiling too much, there's a like a Aristotle kind of. There's some thematic things from some of his writing, and Patrick claims that, and I believe him, that you do not have to know anything about Aristotle to understand the story. It doesn't matter. It's just sort of an inspiration, and I think Alan is sort of poking fun at that. And it's to answer his question, I don't know. I don't know anything.
I don't think it is his favorite JRPG. How about that?
I don't know if he's very aware of the genre, but I believe it's required reading to read The Allegory of the Cave or Plato's Cave before you play any something classic games, because it's heavily into the philosophical. Yeah,
dude. The cave is just like the Matrix, bruh. My mind just blew.
The Matrix.
Yeah, the C in something classic is literally the cave. And the A stands for allegory. So think about that the next time you hear our name.
AKA Phil or PHBickle from Twitter asks, what was the biggest lesson you learned not to do when marketing an indie game with Shadows of Adam and Pillars of Dust, and how are you applying those lessons with Quartet?
I don't think we made any mistakes. All we can do is improve on what we've already done, right?
Yeah,
it's totally possible that the campaign was like, just really good, and that you're like, okay, let's just refine it.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably things. I mean, it's hard to like tap into the zeitgeist sometimes. I always feel like social media makes me feel that way a lot, which was never really something Classic's MO anyway. We've always, I feel like Shadows of Adam, it's been well received, it's got good reviews, and it's found a small but passionate niche audience. And I still see it mentioned often on Twitter and Reddit, and that gives me hope that, we could build a lasting brand. Maybe not a flash in the pan kind of game. Like My Familiar, I think, is more suited because of just how incredible the visuals are and how unique the setting is. And actually seeing what Tim and Preston, the director of that game, have done marketing-wise has opened my eyes for how to build a content drip drop to build hype for your project. But I'm not sure. I think just Something guys has always been about just building relationships with people. I think that's what we do well. I mean, we try to build genuine relationships with other developers. It's not phony. It's not fake. It's not a quid pro quo. I legitimately like ZServ. I like the guys, Alan and Joe, who make Shrine's Legacy, and Chris Gween, he makes Adventures of Chris, and et cetera, and so on and so on. There's so many developers, I'm forgetting them. But we're genuine relationships with them, and we're probably going to, that will come in business ways, of course, but in sincere human ways as well, I think. That's kind of our
sort of grassroots.
Yeah, we're the Bernie Sanders of JRPG indie dev companies.
Serving that chicken.
We have no corporate donors.
What I've found is what I found from talking with game developers, especially, there's also quite a few that have made, big followings and things. I love the ones that are just very supportive of others. There's some developers who I'm just in awe of how connected they are and how selfless they can sometimes be, and just promoting others' work and just being excited about others' work. One of those people is ZServ, who created Ephemeral Tale. I find him everywhere. He's just like supporting others and being friends with people, and really with no like aspect of wanting anything for himself. It's not like, hey, come promote my game if I promote yours. It's like, no, legitimately, I'm excited for you and I don't expect anything in return. And that's the type of culture that I love to see in developer. Like it's not really marketing, but it's just like, it's support. Like, I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it, but those are the people that I just really admire.
Playing in local bands, it kind of reminds me of that. Like, it's a scene.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of supporting each other. There's a greater movement at play, and everyone's kind of in it for passion and not necessarily for cynical reasons.
Yeah, and I think like will attract like in that aspect as well. People who are legitimately passionate and friendly will attract other legitimately passionate and friendly people to them. That's at least my hope, that it will be a positive. From my experience, it's been quite a positive experience talking to developers, which I'm very happy about.
And if you want to be in this business, like Josh said, you got to be part of the scene. You got to be, like, ZServ is a great example, shining example. Just like, you got to come in like with a spirit of like being a friend, like forming real relationships. You can sniff out the phonies right away. I feel when they're just coming to you because they want something from you. Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard business. It's a really hard business, and but that stuff goes a long way. I mean, almost all the work I have gotten in composing for indie games has literally come from either Tim, Tyler, Josh, or Patrick. That's it. All my work has come from them. So if you keep that in mind, like when Patrick and I connected, and then he met Preston from My Familiar, the first thing Patrick thought was, okay, I need to get a team for Preston's game. Who did he get? He got the Something Classic team. So, not saying that we became friends with Patrick for that. Like, I'm a genuine friend of Patrick. So that would be my take.
It's kind of happened.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like Josh particularly, but I stick around with him.
Yeah, it's just a business requirement. And to answer the marketing stuff, I can say for Pillars of Dust that probably the most important thing is you got to start marketing early and often. And if you don't have any plan, then you're not going to get anything. So you really have to treat marketing as a form of development. Yeah,
it's its own game, right? But it's like, it's very difficult sometimes to balance it out with like, oh, I don't want to self-promote and all that kind of thing. And but
no, you gotta be shameless.
You do also have to be like shameless. You can be, in my opinion, you can market shamelessly and kind. Like you can. I'm a big fan of the kind marketing. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, here, you can play it if you want, but not like pressuring you or anything. I don't know. It's hard to.
Sincerity, probably.
Yes.
Yeah. Tyler's natural promoter. Like, we were going to some pizza place, and he was like sending out business cards to the
nice.
There. Like,
it's good to have that person. Yeah.
Check out Shadows of Adam if you're a fan of JRPGs and pizza.
And like,
I got a waitress at Cracker Barrel to play Shadows of Adam, so that was my crowning achievement.
Oh, nice. So. That's how you know you got a good marketer. But it's just not. Yeah, it doesn't have to be slimy marketing. It's actually legitimately people who love people, like who can actually talk to people genuinely. They often make good marketers. So if you get someone, if you're not good with that, you can get someone to help you out who makes friends easily, and you're just like, can you market for me? And then they're like, yeah, I know how to present stuff.
Our worst case, you could always get a social media manager. I mean, we have a good friend of ours, Anna, who's writes at RPG Gamer, and she does that professionally. And I know this like marketing stresses a lot of people out. It stresses me out too sometimes. And if you have the budget, you could always hire a professional, someone has those soft skills that you need to make those connections with people.
Yeah. Totally. CoolCatTerri, or Rage Queen, from Twitter asks, how would someone have a title fill the screen to showcase a new quest? I saw this in a visual novel called Jenny LeClue Detective Vu, and I would want to know if this is possible and how to do it in RPG Maker MZ. Now, I know that people here don't necessarily all use MZ or RPG Maker anymore for that matter, but maybe there's like an engine agnostic way to approach this?
Yeah, so I think the implementation would be based on if you have a static internal resolution or not. Like the static internal resolution method would be the simplest. Static internal resolution just means you have a static internal resolution you upscale. So you could just have a fixed static texture, which is the name of the quest you want to display, and just design that texture to be the width of your screen. That is the easiest way to do it. The more advanced but dynamic way to do it is to calculate the width of your resolution. So if you're 1920 by 1080, you calculate, I have a 1920 width. And you just dynamically change the text to fill up the amount of screen space you have. Those would be kind of the two main approaches I take to this problem.
That's a thing, like, RPG Maker MZ is so specific that they'll have, like, resolution quirks and all this stuff. It is very restrictive sometimes in the way that it, like, tells you to do stuff. So even something simple like using formulas to expand a picture, not always possible. It's like you need plugins and all this kind of stuff. It's very, like, catered to a specific kind of function. So, I mean, if you can do this, sure, like show picture would be my my simple thing. There's a function called show picture in RPG Maker. You just make the picture beforehand and fade it in. I don't know, or animate it in, whatever. But as for like custom animations and all that, go look for some plugins. I think would be the go-to. Yeah,
a common hack you see for these sort of problems is you take the widest character you have, which is usually W in a Latin alphabet, and then you kind of cache the width of that W, and you use that for all calculations in the future. So it's like, because you don't know how wide a text is going to be until you actually draw the text, because you don't know necessarily the width of per each character. So it's like, well, you take the widest character, which is usually W in Latin alphabets, you pre-calculate the width, and then you can kind of position it based on the result of that pre-calculation cache.
Yeah. Monospaced, like, font is the kind of, like, everything is the same space sort of thing. So it's like, yeah,
like I always say of game development, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's like, well, this looks good. How's it implemented? It's all giant hacks. It's all smoke. It's all fake. It's all fake, but it looks nice, so that's why we do it.
The wires are going everywhere. They're all tangled behind the scenes, so you don't want to look behind the curtain.
Exactly, yeah. And that's game development in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
It looks nice and pretty what the user sees, but the back end is a giant mess of nested spiderweb code. It goes all over the place. But I mean, the player has a good experience. That's all that matters for game development.
Yeah.
Well, that's software development in general, if you think about it.
Yeah, that's right.
That's life in general.
Crazy glue, paper clips, and like some string holding the entire internet together.
It's just baling twine. The internet is held together by baling twine. And a little bit of bubble gum.
Yeah. Here's my quick question about that is like, do you think there's less Tangle in Quartet than Shadows of Adam, or did you just create all new forms of Tangle by adding new stuff to it?
So Quartet is interesting because we have all new systems. It doesn't have a whole lot of tech debt yet, but that doesn't mean it's not going to have tech debt in the future.
Because it's not finished yet.
That's right. Yeah, like it's not done yet. Like we're still working on it, and it's relatively clean now. But that doesn't mean it's going to be relatively clean when we actually release it. It's just kind of the nature of things. We design systems to handle certain use cases, but throughout the course of development, certain use cases appear which we didn't handle. So we add workarounds and hacks to handle those cases. So over time, you end up with this giant, spider web of code in the back end, which is just a giant mess, but it works. The most important thing about releasing a game is it has to work at the end of the day, right? We could keep reiterating the system code, but then we're never going to release a game. And that code,
over-engineering.
Exactly. It applies to any type of game you make. It applies to any tool you make. RPG Maker, Unity Game Maker, Studio, it's all the same at the end of the day. Yeah. You're going to have some things you're not proud of, but you dealt with it in order to release a product.
Yeah. I mean... all like jokes aside about like it's funny, you got some mess behind the scenes, but like I think that's actually very like heartening to know that a company like Something Classic, who's made these awesome games, still has a bit of mess behind the scenes when it comes to the code. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, because like that's like all games. There's a little bit of inefficiency, and I think that's important for game developers to sort of realize that if you have a little bit of inefficiency behind your code, don't fret like you're the only person who has this. Like, this is normal. Like, try not to do it, but you still have to make your game. So don't be ashamed that something, there might be a little bit of mess here. There might be a little bit of weird code there. It doesn't matter as long as, you're making your game. People, just go for it. Like,
Yeah, don't overthink it.
Yeah. So that's all our community questions. Thank you for your questions. They've been good questions. I just said questions 3 times. That's my ADHD. I am going to move on. We will move on to our next section, which is the deep dive. Welcome to The Deep Dive. In this section, we dive deep into one of each of our guest projects and figure out what went on during the process, inspirations and elsewise. But it just so happens that our guests have a lot of overlap, so we're just going to focus on 3 games they're either currently working on or have been currently released at the moment. So, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive, but it's kind of going to be just like a short survey of different projects due to, I'm just going to say it again. We're going to do a bit of it's called the deep dive, but we're going to do a little bit of a shallow survey of each of these games one at a time. We're going to start with the game Quartet. Now, I had a look at this game. It looks really good. Like, I love the way it looks. It kind of looks it can look similar in some ways to Shadows of Adam, but also very different in other ways as well. Like, the UI looks different, and there's, but also it seems to have different like kind of gameplay underpinnings. It's about a series of unlikely train robberies, a mysterious deck of cards, a fleet of deadly airships, an accidental mage. Choose from 4 stories in any order and see how they eventually intertwine in this turn-based RPG. Yeah. So, what is Quartet about? May I ask, just a bit more information for those who don't know. What can we expect from Quartet?
Sure. I'll just give you a little quick preview. So Quartet is made a lot in the spirit of Shadows of Adam, so a lot of the design aesthetics of, the quality of life aspects and the convenience features. But it's like the pitch said, the game starts kind of like a Wild Arms 3 kind of opening where you get to select between 4 different chapters. And quasi-Octopath Traveler 2, if you will, except with ours, like Wild Arms and unlike Octopath, the stories will connect, the characters will interact. So as you play these 4 stories, you'll watch as these very disparate characters from very different backgrounds and different philosophies are going to come together. And the big twist in the battle system that differentiates it from Shadows of Adam is that it kind of takes the Final Fantasy VIII turn swapping. So essentially when someone's turn is active, they can call in someone from the reserve party to take their turn. And so with a large cast of 8, all who have like unique gameplay lanes, so it's not like anyone can do anything. Hopefully we'll create a exciting turn-based battle system and where you're actively swapping between your 8-member party and finding combinations that you like. And that's all I'm going to say right now without spoiling too much of the plot.
Yeah, because the swapping is like central to the gameplay. You'd say like I guess that's one of the focuses you want to say is like you want the player to swap as much as possible, like to utilize the different strengths of each hero. Would that be correct?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely we want to make it advantageous and fun. I mean, if people want to ride and die Juna and always have her in the party, then you could do that. It might just not be optimal. But yeah, the battle system will encourage you to switch. The back row characters are regenerating more AP than the people in the front row, so that's one aspect. And also, like I mentioned earlier, every character, their personality is reflected in their gameplay. So for instance, Cordelia, who's a studied mage, she's going to have access to lots of different elemental spells. She's going to have access to more debuffs, buffs. She's a little more versatile in her magic use, as opposed to someone, say, like Agatha, who is a trained mage hunter, so all her moves are physical in nature. She doesn't really have elemental afflictions. She's more based on speed and multi-hits, as opposed to someone maybe like Juna, who's really focused on tanking physical damage and casting heals. So everyone sort of has their lane. You might need to call them up at different times when you find that their skills will be needed at that particular moment.
Right. Is Juna a hippo?
You have to wait and see.
I don't know what is it?
You have to wait and see. She's not technically a hippo. She's some special race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to add to what Tyler
cool.
said too, like with the narrative structure we have for Quartet. We're trying to do what Octopath Traveler did, but we want each character's narrative, their own individual story, to combine at the end to one cohesive whole. Which is something that I think everyone on the Quartet team is disappointed about with Octopath Traveler. Is you have all these great characters, but their stories don't intertwine and kind of combine into one story.
Yeah, they're like braided together, but then they fray at the end. It's like, okay, well, I wanted them to kind of fuse.
Exactly,
fuse all those threads into one.
Yep.
Like, you're literally making, I guess, the Magnolia of games. If anyone's seen that film.
Sure, yeah.
It's like, yeah, Tom Cruise is in this. No, he's not. So, yeah, I mean, this game looks amazing. I actually like how, because it seems more conceptual, I guess, than Shadows of Adam. Shadows of Adam's very kind of, you know what you're going to get, but I think, maybe not totally, but I think with Quartet, it's like, okay, this is a more of a thing that we're experimenting with and going with, and it's born from the concept, you'd say?
I agree. Yeah, without spoiling too much, and Patrick could talk about this more better than I could, but the title Quartet sort of implies that there's 4 points of views that permeate through every aspect of the game, from the plot to the characters to the gameplay. So there's a kind of, for these 4 really distinct points of views on how, well, without saying what it is, it's going to really permeate. So I think players might find that interesting, and I hope they enjoy it. And like Ty said, yeah, it's Octopath Traveler, but the characters actually talk to each other, and they have a shared plot. So I think that will hopefully excite people.
Yeah, I mean, like Ty was talking earlier about Tyranny as well as a game, and I suppose it's got that similar thing where, okay, we need a story to have kind of different ways that it... Is there any... I suppose, is there any element of choice in this, or is it kind of just you follow the stories? I don't want to ruin too much about that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to... some things I'd rather keep secretive, but anything else you want to say about this game before we move on to the next one? Because I'm very interested to see Quartet when it finally comes through.
I say just follow us on Twitter, Something Classic, and hopefully have a demo sometime this summer. We're making great progress, and we're looking forward to getting some player feedback. So just follow us on Twitter.
Yep, and add it to your wish list on Steam.
Yes.
Go ahead and do that. Sure thing. Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm doing that now. I'm adding. When I log into Steam, I will. Cool. And we've also got a game called For a Vast Future. Now, this is a game at the recording of this podcast. It doesn't have too much information online, so I'm relying on. I'm relying on you guys to kind of fill it in for me. What is For a Vast Future?
So, For a Vast Future is. It's a Game Boy styled RPG. We wanted to take a lot of inspiration from the Final Fantasy Legends series as well as Pokemon, and we wanted to take that sort of traveler-friendly gameplay where it's easy to pick up and play, but combine it with a little bit more serious plot line and a lot of the more esoteric systems that those games had, where there's a lot of customization. There's a lot of different ways to play. It's pseudo open world.
Yeah.
So the game centers around a more sci-fi theme than we typically do, and it's got a little bit of everything. It's got a crafting system, quest system. There's even some computer hacking you do, like you try to crack a password for a computer to read information or turn off switches.
Yeah.
Some mini games, and the combat is pretty similar to Pillars of Dust, but a little bit more refined. And it's a similar philosophy to Pillars of Dust, where we want to make it speed running friendly. So there's a lot of options, and we want to see what people come up with out of those a large number of options.
Yeah. An RPG Maker developer friend of mine, Joseph Serif, has raved to me endlessly about Final Fantasy Legend, from like the tower aesthetic to like the non-linear kind of gameplay. It's a very weird kind of game. Like, I'd say, for its time. I think it was quite forward-thinking, but also, I suppose, made some like brave choices with leveling system and different things like that were like not really iterated upon in the RPG evolution. I'd say, I don't know, there's many things there that were kind of ahead of its time, but I think a lot of the ways that it approached haven't been explored. So I think it is because it's like quite non-linear for a vast future. So is there some things that you consider, like, I suppose, innovative about For Vast Future that you think are quite interesting experiments gameplay-wise, or does it kind of follow, the tradition of Final Fantasy Legend, I suppose?
I hesitate to say innovative because we're doing retro, but I'm trying to break out of the mold a little bit of how I've done past projects personally.
Yeah.
So in this game, there's going to be like a pretty linear plot line, but there's a lot of side quests and a lot of information that isn't spelled out directly, so it's sort of up to the player to deduce what the lore of the world is and the central messaging. So it's more narrative focused than the previous retro game project, but at the same time, it's got that sort of loose feeling where the game isn't going to do too much hand-holding. It's up to the player to decide how they want to play it and what they want out of it.
Yeah, because Final Fantasy Legend could be at times frustratingly not holding your hand. Like, it was like, okay, where do I go now? What do I do? It's like, but in a way that was part of its charm,
Yeah, we want to try to touch on the charm part without getting into the frustration of not knowing where to go or what to do.
Awesome.
So hopefully we can get the best of both worlds there.
Yeah, I'm looking at screenshots for this game. It looks incredible, good throwback, but also with very like lovely looking sprites and sort of the title screen in particular just looks amazing. I really want to check this out. So everybody go check out For a Vast Future when it comes out. It has a page, just go follow it, wishlist it, whatever you need to do for a vast future. Anything else you wanted to bring up about the game in particular you'd like our listeners to know?
It's coming out this year, 2021, and we're targeting Steam and Nintendo Switch early on. So for any Switch fans, that's a common question we would get is, when is Game X coming out on Switch? So the answer is this year, and yes.
Yeah, I've never been a Switch owner, but it seems like that is the new kind of one of the new like standards that everyone sort of wants retro style games to be on is the Switch, because it's the thing that you carry around with you to as you go about. Oh well, yeah. Depending on
it's almost like a spiritual successor to the Game Boy in a sense.
Yeah.
Bobby, when's Bobby coming out?
Bobby will be in this game to some extent. I will not say how, but he's in it.
He is the vast future. That's the
final
plot of the game.
When are you going to announce Bobbyverse 1.0? A game all about Bobby.
Yeah.
That was actually the original plan, was to make a sequel to Pillars of Dust starring Bobby as a jacked up superhero type person. But
buddy cop game with Curtis, maybe? Like a double dragon style game, side scroller beat 'em up.
Bobby and Curtis team up and just destroy everything.
Yeah. It used to be called For a Vast Bobby, but then it kind of changed a little bit, I guess.
The subtitle is Secrets of the Bobbyverse.
Oh. Very secretive canon you got there running. We'll continue to grow that. Go check out For a Vast Future. Go ahead and do that. Our next game that we'd like to highlight, our last game of the morning or night, depending on when you're listening to this. You could be listening to this at an unknown time that we don't know of yet. I don't know how that works. Okay, so we're going to switch into the game My Familiar, which is by Excavate Studios, executive produced by Preston MC or Mr. Chintzy, and produced also by Pat Holloman or TGDF Web. And the art director is Pixel Groover, you might know of them. Composed by Tyler Mire and cover art by Sam Toddhunter. So we got something classic members working on this game, but you'd say that it's not a game, I suppose, produced by you alone. It's sort of like a collaboration.
I think pretty much the only people working on the project, aside from Pat and Preston, who are producing it are all Something Classic members.
Oh,
Well, there
right.
are a few other contracted artists. Well, quite a number of them. But yeah, I'm art directing,
Okay.
and Tyler has produced the music, and Ty is doing the programming.
Oh, wow.
So-
Okay. Well, that's more than I thought previously. I'm sorry about that, but I mean, yeah, looks amazing. Yeah, let's go, because, I mean, the first thing that strikes me about this game is the visuals. Like, I don't know what the visual, like, inspiration for this game was, but it's very striking. You got, like, birds with, like boxing, like, buff dudes on the bottom half, and, like, some, like, yeah, like, ducks with, like, mohawks and stuff, and like this really extremely colorful and purple, very like purple and blue and like world. In this world where you wake up as a fresh familiar on the shores of a mysterious island where the denizens are dark and corruption is king. Apparently it's a buddy cop noir. You uncover conspiracy and it has turn-based combat. Yeah, what about this game? Like, where did the inspiration for this game come
Right.
from?
So I think Preston's got a pretty creative mind, and as far as I understand, he wrote a few children's books with these characters in them.
Oh.
But he's also got like sort of a street vibe to these characters, so they sort of get into the world that they probably can't get into in the children's books, right? So this
Yeah.
is sort of like a 90s realization of his childhood through hyperbole or something. And so in the art direction, it was my first job was to capture the essence and mood of all these characters and the sort of style that was started to be set by the if you look at the Twitter header, there's some concept art of them on the streets in like a neon city. So
Yeah.
it was very much like 80s, 90s music and theming already, and the characters are kind of like real monsters or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Like, and that, I suppose, kind of triggered the aesthetic and the palette of it as well.
Yep.
It's a very purple kind of game.
yeah, exactly. So definitely, I just looked at 90s and neon and 80s UI and some of those old cartoons, and I just slapped together all of it. And what that looked like, I was like, I'm gonna make that what the game looks like.
Yeah.
So
And street
Is it kind of like a...
and street graffiti
Sorry.
too, right?
yeah, So like,
Oh, you do your own graffiti.
New York
Yeah.
City, like graffiti, part of the inspiration, just street life. And I kind of grew up in street life in my younger years, so I can relate to some of that mood and stuff. So try and put some of that energy into it too. But yeah, it's a grittier 90s take on a world like Earthbound, really. The modern day
yeah.
world, right?
Awesome. And I suppose talking about the sound as well, like sound design. Tyler, do you do the sound design or just the composing, like effects and all that, or is it? Are you the? Do you just do the songs for it, or are you like an overall kind of what's it called? Like sound design as well as the composition.
Yeah, so I just specialize in composition. We hired Austin Shannon, who's a freelance sound effect guy who actually did sound effects for Shadows of Adam too.
Oh.
So yeah, my job is just to write the music, and
Which the soundtrack
I probably
is
wouldn't be
amazing.
too helpful.
How would you describe the soundtrack of My Familiar? How did you approach this?
You know, actually, when I first connected with Preston, he had hired a musician who had done a couple tracks for the game already, and he sent them to me, and I did a lot of listening, and the music was really great. It was very like, he came from like a way different background. He was like a very good producer, DJ, like very beat oriented, simplistic, but like very good production wise. And so I was like, okay, I can kind of see like we need like a little bit of a lo-fi aesthetic to this, but Patrick really wanted like to bring the melodicism like that's you might hear within a classic JRPG. So sort of looked to meld those, and then me sort of coming from a jazz background, I think played into a lot of it. When we were doing some of the first tracks, Preston suggested to me, he said, is there any chance you could get a saxophone player on this? And I'm like, man, that's like the world I live in. I know so many great musicians. And he happened to have the budget, so we kind of tried it on a couple tracks, and it really worked well. And from there, we just sort of found this weird hybrid of 90s fusion with some jazz and lo-fi hip-hop. It's with like kind of digital sounding stuff. It's really a strange kaleidoscope. And yeah, I'm definitely influenced by the visuals, which is sort of like a 90s, like a Nickelodeon. Like, I just imagine every time I see My Familiar, I'm gonna like look up and Gak's gonna fall on me or something.
But is it like unlike anything you've done before, really, or is it something similar to, like, I suppose, the jazz compositions and arrangements that you're making outside of RPG?
Yeah, it's a good question. I say it's definitely different and unique. It's the most different kind of music I've done. I mean, it definitely heavily draws on my jazz background, and there was a tune I did for him that was like just a straight up jazz orchestra piece, which felt like something I would do outside a game. But there's always those peculiar limitations and things that you have to address when you're writing game music, you know, looping and then keeping the vibe consistent. And so, yeah, all those limitations meet like with my background and what My Familiar needed. Yeah, I think it kind of pushed me into a new territory. And I'm really excited about how the music's come along. And I'm just excited that Preston has been so passionate about hiring a lot of really great talented soloists and musicians they record on the tracks. I think that adds a lot, brings a lot of a unique voice to the music. And so shout out to all the musicians we've hired. They're unbelievable.
Yeah. And we really haven't talked about too much, I'll be honest. We didn't talk about much of the composition aspect, but I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on that. I think you use Logic Pro X, if that's, And I just noticed, like, you shared recently, like, a spreadsheet of sorts where you have the track names and where the comp done, which I'm guessing is like composition or compression, probably composition, and then like different mixing like issues that you have, like I'll change this brass volume, I'll change this megaphone, I'll change this string panning, so on, and like which live instruments you might need. It's like a really interesting kind of do you find, like, for each project that you have, especially between like RPG and jazz, your jazz arrangements, is there much difference between them, or is the process generally the same? How do you find like composing for these different like projects? What's been your experience really?
Yeah, they're all different. I think what helps what is usually the most challenging is the first track you write for a new game. Right. That can really set a tone, like a sort of sonic palette that you want to use for the rest of the game. With My Familiar, I think I found that early on, and that's sort of helped guide me in the future tracks. With, for instance, Quartet, which has been kind of on and off production for 4 years, I had made that spreadsheet because I was recently re-listening to some of the older stuff, and some of my production techniques and sounds I was using had upgraded since, and I was feeling a little overwhelmed. And so I had to make that giant spreadsheet to sort of like, okay, I need a plan to get everything back to where it needs to be. But yeah, every project's different. I mean, I've started projects with new developers, and usually you spend the most time on the first track. And once you get a good first track and you get like a nice aesthetic, I say also with JRPGs though, what makes it challenging is that historically JRPG music is so diverse and so eclectic. I mean, you play a Final Fantasy and one scene will have a full orchestral score over the overworld, and then you'll get a boss battle and it's a fusion rock tune with synthesizers playing the lead lines. So that is something that appeals to me personally, but it also makes it tricky to make. How do you make that all cohesive? And so that's something I'm always trying to figure out.
Yeah, excellent. Does anyone have anything else they want to say about My Familiar, in particular, the game, that you want to let listener know?
No, I'm just waiting for it to come out. Oh, well, I guess the demo we're shooting for July.
Nice.
I guess something I can add for My Familiar is the narrative direction. I can't speak for it directly because I'm not directly involved with the narrative. But the general vision we have for My Familiar from a narrative perspective is it is a kind of like the 7 deadly sins in this world where it's populated by unfulfilled wishes and familiars, like imaginary friends you see as like a child. So, you know, unfulfilled wishes all end up in this one world, and then it ends up being this kind of crackpot of different characters and interesting characters and different kind of perspectives about how the world should function. Which is pretty interesting if you think about it.
It looks like the sort of seedy underbelly, like mixed with Earthworm Jim a little bit. I don't know, like, because it's like got this really like it's a different kind of vibe to, I'd say, what any of the other projects you've done. It feels very distinct, and I enjoy. I think that I like how you've kind of integrated with that process. It seems seamless. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, for sure. That's mainly the work of Preston and Tim working together to build this world. Preston providing the vision that we want, and Tim actually making that vision in, like, making it come alive with his artwork he provides and his direction.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's My Familiar. Go subscribe to that on Twitter. Actually, yeah, we'll go and play that game. I'll actually kind of, we'll finish here because I want to respect your time and sort of, make sure we're not going till the end of time. But I think I'd like to thank you all for being on this podcast. It's been a real privilege to have all four of you on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. You're a great host.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know about that. I just exist.
Hey, we wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. We would have left an hour ago.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And here, any plug or promote anything you'd like here. This is a time for our developers. Just go ahead. How can we follow you? How can we follow your progress? How can we support Something Classic?
So the best way to support us would be to buy our games, like Shadows of Adam, Pillars of Dust for Advanced Future, My Familiar, Quartet when they all come out. The next way would be to join our Discord if you're a developer yourself, or you just want to follow us. We usually give a sneak peek, and we do developer streams when we're working on finding bugs that I introduced on our Discord. So discord.gg/something classic. That's how you can join a Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
I've joined
I'd say it's the best way to get engaged with us.
Yeah, I've joined it. I've enjoyed it so far, being part of that community.
Yeah, like we have different developers too, so even if you don't like our stuff necessarily, you can find other independent developers there who share their own work. And it's a talented community full of, multiple disciplines, so it's good to just join and interact.
Anybody else got anything they want to sort of bring light to?
Follow us on Twitter. I say follow us on Twitter. At Something Classic, except there's no I or something in it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Something Classic, but there's no I in Classic.
Yeah, because that extra I was one character too long, so we removed it.
Crap. That sucks.
I just want to give a quick shout out to my Retro Games teammates. I know this is Something Classic, but there's a lot of overlap. So I just want to give a shout out to Leogram, Andy, and Tommy, who are all helping to work on For Vast Future and all doing a great job.
Excellent.
And you can find them on the Something Classic Discord as well. So it's a little bit of everything.
All the cool kids are there. And Josh.
Follow them at Retro Games. That's Retro, RETREAUX. Retro Games. Go follow them. Anything else? Or is that it? Yeah, that's good. Cool. And thank you for listening to this episode of RPG Maker Cola. Go join the RPG Maker Cola Discord. We've got YouTube channel, we've got Twitch, we've got everything. You know about it. Your own episode, so Anyway. And we're about to bid farewell, but I have one more question that I ask every developer who comes on this podcast. And there's for all four of you. If you had one thing to say to the listener today, what would it be?
Don't do drugs.
I'm gonna say be scrappy. Like, independent development is hard. You gotta scrap and fight for every sale you do. Just don't be discouraged if things don't work out the way you kind of envisioned to work out. But be scrappy and keep fighting for those sales you get as an independent developer.
Yeah, kind of what Ty said. I would say play the long game. It's so easy on social media to think that things happen overnight. Play the long game. It only takes one. It only takes one person to see what you did, one review. That can be the difference. I mean, relationships we made 15 years ago have made me money that I use to support my family. So just play the long game. It's not overnight. And we started Something Classic 8 years ago, and we're still doing podcasts, and we still see people playing and enjoying Shazam. So just play the long game. Don't get discouraged. Be scrappy.
And for the game side of things, I'd recommend for any aspiring or new developer, just finish something. Like, it doesn't have to be elaborate, huge, or greatest thing ever, but just focus on finishing projects. Don't get caught in that endless revision cycle. Try to set harsh deadlines and accountability, and be your own project manager.
Yeah. I always point to the article by Derek Yu, written in 2010, classic post, finishing a game. Go check that one out if you want to learn how to finish a game.
On me, that article.
Came out so early, was very influential, and helped me finish many games. Thank you so much to all our guests once again, and thank you, dear listener, for listening. Just patiently just sitting there. You might be developing, you might be just, watching something. Probably not watching something at the same time as listening, but, developing your game, playing some games. Thank you so much for just sitting there politely, and we will see you next time on RPG Maker Cola. And until then, see you later. Goodbye, everyone. Bye.